Okay, it's day 92, and this is part one. Former NSA employee is sentenced to 5 years. Our man Foe, right here, for taking between the periods of 2010 to 2015 to 66 months of prison. Now, I don't know if our series had anything to do with this, but this was just yesterday. And again, highly classified material regarding Foe's oath of national security, etc. And you want to speculate on what did he take, right? Remember, if you will, he took it out of the tailored access operations unit. Now, just by going back to the other leaker from this same unit who was leaking Lockheed secrets and being so close to Lockheed and then moving to Lockheed after he was arrested, he still hasn't been sentenced. Harold the Purple Crayon, we call him, Martin. We speculated that they were exfiltrating secure access programs, which could be for national covert weapons buys like Club K. Also, different technology for arming the Quds Force in Iran and also for the Iran nuclear program. We don't know that to be true, but I do have other information that would support that. Here is Harris Corporation's night vision, and it was bought from a company called Excelis. Now, I believe there is connections from the Strokes and also this new accuser named Blassi, and I'll show you that in a minute. Harris, again, acquires Excelis right before the Iran deal. Again, was this part of the deal as far as Strokes' money in the game here? Excelis was bought for $16 a share by Harris. We don't know how much stock Peter Strzok may or may not have had. But just to finish this off, here is an Iranian that was part of the hostage swap deal that was involved in getting night vision goggles to Iran. He was part of the 4 hostages that were swapped right before the Iran deal. And as you can see down here, Ratola, what a name, U.S. made night vision goggles. It'll be interesting to see what company that actually was, if that was Excelis. But if it is, then we have a direct connect between Peter Strzok and this deal, and then possibly back all the way to Foe at the Tau. Here is other proof that the Iranians were getting secrets as well. This is this Attar Odi. He was in California, right? Again, near where our Blase is, right? And here they're getting Iranian nuclear program secrets. This, again, we need to look deeper into finding out what universities he was associated with. But remember, we have a Democratic representative, Peter Roskam, saying that the 2 spies, the Iranian spies who were recently arrested near Palo Alto again, were also just the tip of the iceberg. Here we have direct evidence that classified material is being exfiltrated. Have we found the leak? Is Blase the leak? Well, again, the father was involved in leaking secrets and bribery scandals for Lockheed. Is it just all a part of the same thing, just a continuation of the same thing? It's just cut up in the news so that you don't see it. We don't know that yet. But here we actually went and talked about Stanford Computer Optics. We talked about how this intensified charged coupled device would be very important if you were doing compromise operations like these data watch. If you had data watch cameras in all the lobbies and doors and facilities all over the world, visitor management and so forth, you could do facial recognition. You could do facial recognition on Jennifer Yang here, and it would blink. Oh, Soros, that sort of thing, right? But you could also use this intensified charge coupled devices for devices like this, which is the Harris night vision. Remember, we talked about Soleimani, the guy who was running the Quds Force, how the Quds Force was involved all over Afghanistan, Iraq, in other places like Somalia, all over Africa, etc. So we'll follow that up. But here's the direct link between Jill Strzok. I think this comes from somebody named Open Cyrus, but I'm not sure. Jill A. Strzok is involved in Excelis. She's worked out there in Colorado, Aurora, Colorado, near this private airport. Again, is it a test flight center for the CIA? I've been to the airport. It kind of looks like a private executive jet airport, but we'll see as time goes by. It is close to Colorado Springs, on the road to Colorado Springs. And here is the brother of the accuser, Thomas Blassi, also working for Excelis. Now, was this Stanford Optics technology coming over to Excelis for this very fast shutter, fast gated intensified charge coupled device? We don't really know, but at least by doing the analysis and the metadata, we have a better idea. Now, also, Jill Strzok here worked for a little company called Atomjet before she went to Harris, or this Excellus. Again, it reminds me so much of the Blackwater type planes that were being outfitted with all kinds of surveillance and security devices. A lot of people make planes. Why the small little plane company in Aurora, Colorado? Again, if you have the inside line on some kind of charge night vision or fast shutter type of capability that can be used in certain imaging applications, you have the inside track. You build it into the plane. They have to buy the plane from you and the imaging capability. Again, it reminds me so much of Lockheed and Textron and all the exfiltration of technology out of Lockheed to Bridgewater Capital, where James Comey worked. Again, insiders doing pay-to-play with their positions in the federal government. If you don't, here she is also, this is Jill again, Jill Strzok working for Oshkosh Defense. These are the very large defense vehicles. These are like the Humvee size vehicles. They call them JTVs, I think. And this also, these groups can be outfitted with these night vision 360 panoramic night goggles. They're $42,000 a pop. So this isn't just the ones that are worn here on the soldier's helmet, but they also can be outfitted on vehicles and so forth. And again, you build it into the vehicle, and they have to buy the whole vehicle, right? Just switching briefly now to Avenatti and the second accuser. A lot of people think that the person had worked for the State Department or worked for the U.S. Mint. But I just want to remind folks that if you're an attorney working with people in employment law for harassment cases, you could have all sorts of different people coming to you from the government. Again, Avenatti said had previously done work with the State Department and U.S. Mint and the Justice Department. Okay. Remember last year, the takedown of Kaczynski, a federal judge, there was 18 different women that came from all over. And they could have been cases related to the U.S. State Department or the U.S. Mint. We don't know the answer to that yet. But here, if you don't remember, this Jennifer Yang was she was a trial attorney, and this is where she would have met Rosenstein here in the Civil Rights Division here in Washington, D.C. She came here in 2006, I believe, to Washington, D.C., so she was an employment lawyer here for a lot of that period of time. But remember, she goes on to this Soros group called Open Society Foundation. These folks are known for exporting revolution. What they do is they disguise weapons payments under the guise of a donation to a foundation. This happened in Libya, it happened in Syria, it happened in Turkey, it happened in Sudan, it happened all over Africa, it happened in the Arab Spring. So again, when these folks are meeting, typically it has a Kamonics kind of overtone to it. This is the group that Chalupa ran in the Library of Congress that I've talked so much about. April of 2016, we have Chalupa. We have stories coming out by Michael Isikoff and Yahoo News, also Ken Vogel and Politico, both saying, hey, it was the Ukrainians that interfered in the election, not the Russians. Again, stories buried and turned around on Trump, and you add the word Russia. You don't remember George Soros. I got to give Lee Stranahan credit, by the way. He's the only one still working that story. And he has a whistleblower, Andrei Telachenko, I believe. So credits to Lee Stranahan on that. But here's the Open Society Foundation, Exporters of Revolution, whitewashing weapons payments, however you want to say it. Wherever he goes, revolutions follow. First Eastern Europe, again with Madeleine Albright, from the 90s in Bosnia, Croatia, Montenegro, and Kosovo, and then through the Arab Spring, all over Africa and Central Asia. Wherever Open Society goes, I typically look for weapons payments. So again, we don't have a lot of circumstantial evidence built up here. We don't have a direct connect of a purchase order of Excellus for the Quds Force with Strzok's name on it yet. But we do have some very promising leads to go forward.